Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nisha Charachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Raman Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Akhandam Satchidanandam Avang Manasagocharam Atmanam Akhiladharam Ashraye Bhishta Siddhaye Arthatopyadvayanandan Atitadvaita Bhanatah Guruna Radhya Vedanta Saram Vakshe Yathamati. We'll chant together from 72nd verse. Iyam buddhihi jnanendriyaihi sahita vijnanamaya kosho bhavati ayam kartrutva bhoktrutva sukhitva dukhitvadi abhimanatvena ihaloka paraloka gami vyavahariko jivaha ityuchyate. Manastu jnanendriyaihi sahitam san manomaya kosho bhavati karmendriyani vak pani pada payupastha khyani etani punah akashadinam rajomshebhyah vyastebhyah pruthak pruthak kramena utpadyante vayavah Pranapana vyano dana samanaha prano nama praggamanavan nasagrasthanavarti apano nama avaggamanavan paivyadisthanavarti vyano nama vishwaggamanavan akhila shariravarti udano nama kantasthaniya urdhvagamanavan utkramana vayuhu Samano nama sharira madhyagata ashita pita annadi samikarana karaha samikaranantu paripaka karanam rasa rudhira shukra purishadik karanam iti yavate kechittu naga kurma krikala devadatta dhananjaya kyaha pancha anye vayavah santi iti vadanti Tatra Nagaha Udgiranakaraha Kurmaha Unmilanakaraha Krukalaha Kshutkaraha Devadattaha Jrumbanakaraha Dhananjayaha Poshanakaraha. We are currently discussing the topic of Sukshma Sharira, the second conditioning after Ajnanam. Ajnanam was the first conditioning that was discussed. Now we are discussing Sukshma Sharira, the subtle conditioning. Conditioning of whom? Conditioning of Chaitanya only. Don't think that Sukshma Sharira is conditioning of Ajnanam. Ajnanam was conditioning of Chaitanya, pure consciousness. And from this Ajnanam came Sukshma Sharira. From Maya Upahita Chaitanya came the 5 subtle elements. From that combination, Sukshma Sharira is getting formed right now. So even though we are discussing Sukshma Sharira Upadhi, we should always remember this is the conditioning for Chaitanya. So whatever names are given for this conditioned consciousness, that name actually belongs to Chaitanya only. Okay. So within Sukshma Sharira, there were 17 components which were mentioned. 5 Jnanendriyas, Buddhi, Manas, 5 Karmendriya, and 5 Pranas. Total 17. Now within this, Swamiji classified them into koshas. He said if you just take Jnanendriyas plus Buddhi, the kosha that comes with this combination is called as Vijnanamaya kosha. Vijnanamaya kosha. Wherever there is Buddhi and Jnanendriya together, it is called as Vijnanamaya kosha. And this Vijnanamaya kosha alone is a seat of doership and enjoyership. Enjoyership actually belongs to Anandamaya kosha, but expression of enjoyership is in Vijnanamaya kosha. I am a doer and I am an experiencer. This erroneous notion is deeply rooted in Vijnanamaya kosha. And what is the main element which has brought about this misapprehension? What is this main element? Buddhi. Because in Vijnanamaya kosha, the predominant thing is Buddhi. And because it is in such close proximity with Atma, I think I am this Buddhi. I am this Buddhi means I am Karta, I am Bhokta. With that, I keep experiencing different pairs of opposites in this world, different experiences I keep going through. And if somebody lives this physical body without this knowledge, without knowledge of what? That I am Akarta, Abhokta. I am Chaitanya Swarupa Atma, not this doer, not this enjoyer, then it is said that Jiva goes through transmigration. Ihaloka, Paraloka Gami. The one who goes through different experiences in this world and goes through different experiences in other worlds. Now, where those worlds are, it depends on karma. It could also be in this world some other, life form, not necessarily human life form, some other life form. It could be in other worlds as devatas, or in this life form also, in this earth also, some other life forms. But main thing to appreciate there is the root of samsara is kartrutva and bhoktrutva. Yesterday, this thought came to my mind when we were discussing Dashrath Maharaj's prasanga in Ramayana, where he sees in that mirror and sees a grey hair near his ear. And he gets the message that focus on the true purpose of life. Rajya is not your purpose. Rajya was a means. In and through that, do your duty, but make sure that your goal is your own true nature. Shuddha Chaitanya Bhagavan. Sometimes we also have to look in that mirror and see whether whatever I'm doing in my life, is it strengthening my doership or is it mellowing it down? Whatever I'm doing or the way in which I'm doing, more important is that one, not only what I'm doing. All of us could be doing so many other things in our life, but as sadhakas, we should ask ourselves, is my attitude in work, is my bhava, which is there in work, is it in such a way that it is going to reduce my kartrutva, or is it in such a way that it is going to increase my kartrutva? Both answers are okay, but important thing is we should look in that mirror. If I get the answer that, oh, my way of working is such that my kartrutva is increasing more and more, I tend to hold on to things, try to change things. That's a good realization for me as a sadhaka. Right? Then I can say, oh, now at least I can work on that. That is why Karma Yoga is there. Karma Yoga has not started if my kartrutva is going up more and more. Right? If I strongly feel I am a doer, say Karma Yoga has not fully started expressing in my life. Because in Karma Yoga, the person says, the bhakta says, I am Karana, not Karta. I am the instrument. Karana means instrument. I am not the main doer. But also we should remember, he is not dropping karma. Connect this discussion with third chapter, what we have seen in Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes what happens, ghora rupa of karma, if it comes in front of us, that sometimes we feel that, oh, this karma is increasing my kartrutva. I'm getting more and more pulled over there. Now, merely by dropping that karma, nothing is going to happen. What I have to switch is my bhava. In Sanskrit, attitude is a compromised word, but I hope the meaning gets conveyed. Attitude means not colloquially how we say, right? He has a lot of attitude, not in that sense. But with what intention am I doing that karma? And slowly, I should keep looking in that mirror. Something new will start opening up, and it will give us a new insight. That there is a different way to do karma such that I don't get bound by it, and also my kartrutva doesn't rise. Now, this kartrutva is such, it can even come for satkarma. We should not think that only in worldly actions we get this kartrutva. It can also come in divine actions. Let us say somebody is doing sadhana, somebody is doing japa. The thought could be, how many malas have you done? I did 20, how many did you do? Okay, so that kartrutva is very subtle. It can come in different forms. It can hide inside a sadhaka. That is why it is said, sadhana loses its power when it is spoken about. Japa in particular, or any other sadhanas that any sadhaka might be doing. Why? Because purpose of that sadhana was to reduce kartrutva. And if you go on announcing, then whatever result had to come through that sadhana has already been lost through that announcing. So that is how this kartrutva works. And sadhaka recognizes that this is my main problem. Not a person, not a situation, not anything in this world. He says, thinking myself to be strong doer and strong experiencer. That is what is a root cause of all samsara, and that is where I have to work. So this was Vijnanamaya kosha description. Then came Manomaya kosha. So Manomaya kosha was Jnanendriya plus mind. And there we saw making this mind Vedamaya, bringing Vedantic ideas in our mind so that we can reflect upon it. Then came the portion of Pranamaya kosha, where all karmendriyas were discussed first. How the karmendriyas have emerged from organs of action. Karmendriya means that. How they have emerged from a rajasic aspect of the 5 elements. Individual 5 elements, a particular karmendriya emerged. And then from the total rajasic aspect of 5 elements, pancha pranas have emerged. So that also we saw. Just the names of the pancha pranas: prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. 77th verse. And the main thing there was appreciating the systematic functioning of this physical body. And if such a systematic functioning is there, it cannot be random. There has to be a sentient principle presiding over it. That Chaitanya is what I have to trace back. Through the effect, go back to the cause. And with that, few more, all the functions of each prana and upaprana. Upaprana means auxiliary pranas. More fine-tuned understanding of the functions of prana. That is why upapranas were there. Naga, Kurma, Krikala, Devadatta, Dhananjaya. 5 upapranas. Now let us continue. This small topic is left for Pranamaya kosha. 86th verse. Etesham pranadishu Antarbhavat, Antarbhavat, Pranadayah, Pranadayah, Panchaiveti, Panchaiveti, Kechit, Kechit, Etat Pranadi Panchakam, Etat Pranadi Panchakam, Akashadigata, Akashadigata, Rajom Shebhyah, Rajom Shebhyah, Militebhyah, Militebhyah, Utpadyante, Utpadyante, Idam Pranadi Panchakam, Idam Pranadi Panchakam, Karmendriyaihi Sahitam, Karmendriyaihi Sahitam, Sat Pranamaya Kosho Bhavati, Sat Pranamaya Kosho Bhavati, Asya Kriyatmakattvena, Asya Kriyatmakattvena, Rajom Shakaryatvam, Rajom Shakaryatvam, Etesham Pranadishu Antarbhavat. Etesham means all the upapranas that we just saw, Naga, Kurma, Krukala, those upapranas which are there, because their functions are already included in the main panchapranas, they don't have to be accounted for separately. That is why Swamiji said, Kechit manyante. Some people think that there are upapranas. But according to Vedanta, we say there are only 5 pranas. In that, the functions of upapranas are already included. Pancha eva iti kechit. Means according to Vedanta, there are only 5 of them. Etat pranadi panchakam akashadigata rajomshebhyah militebhyah utpadyante. Now these pancha pranas, unlike karmendriyas, have not emerged from individual elements. Karmendriyas emerge from rajasic aspect of individual 5 elements. But pancha pranas have emerged from the total rajasic aspect of 5 elements. Not individual, but total. Why do you say total? Because these pranas, they don't nourish only a particular karmendriya. Pranas nourish all the 5 of them. That is why they have to have the main element. Their main cause has to be total 5 elements, not individual 5 elements. If it was individual, then it will only nourish that particular sense organ from which it has emerged. So pranas have emerged from samashti aspect of 5 elements. Rajasic aspect. Huh? Why is Swamiji clarifying that it is only rajasic aspect and not that all 5 elements are mixed together? Rajasic aspect is for action. But why is he saying that? What else is he saying? By clarifying this, that only rajasic aspect is mixed, not all the 5 elements have actually mixed together. Can somebody type also if you have any answer? Why is he clarifying that only rajasic aspect is mixed? One answer is because it is action oriented. That is why rajas is pointed out. What would happen if all 5 elements mixed? Even the sattvic and tamasic aspect, let us say they mixed, then what would happen? There are a lot of Purva Pakshas, and in every verse, I'm not raising all of them, but few of them we can raise. Good. If actually the 5 elements mix up, then it will not remain subtle anymore. If 5 elements mix up, then Panchikaranam will happen, Sthula Srishti will come about. That we are going to see later. Right? The gross world will come when all the 5 elements mix together. But when pranamaya kosha or the pranas are emerging out, Swamiji wants to clarify that it is only rajasic aspect of the 5 elements which got mixed up. If 5 elements really totally got mixed up, then you will have Panchikaranam which will take place and Sthula Srishti will come about. This we are talking about sukshma, subtle only. That is only rajasic aspect mixed up. Good. Idam pranadi panchakam karmendriyahi sehitam sat pranamaya kosho bhavati. So all these pancha pranas along with karmendriya together is called as pranamaya kosha. Jnanendriya plus buddhi was called as vijnanamaya kosha. Jnanendriya plus mind was called as manomaya kosha. And third one is karmendriya plus prana is called as pranamaya kosha. Okay, 3 koshas are described. You might wonder, why is Swamiji describing all of this? He says, this is why I'm describing now. Look at the 89th verse. I said all these things starting from 72 or even before, when we started discussing Vijnanamaya, Jnanendriyas and all. He says, I said all of that to come to this point, 89th verse. Eteshu kosheshu madhye, eteshu kosheshu madhye, Vijnanamayo jnana shaktiman kartru rupah, Vijnanamayo jnana shaktiman kartru rupah, Manomayah, Manomayah, Ichha shaktiman, Ichha shaktiman, Karana rupah, Karana rupah, Pranamaya, Pranamaya, Kriya shaktiman, Kriya shaktiman, Karya rupah, Karya rupah, Yogyatvat, Yogyatvat, Evam, Evam, Etesham vibhagah iti, Etesham vibhagah iti, Varnayanti, Varnayanti, Etat koshatrayam militam, Etat koshatrayam militam, Sat, Sat, Sukshma shariram iti uchyate, Sukshma shariram iti uchyate. Now these 3 koshas, they help us understand our personality better. What is this kosha doing? It is acting like a conditioning. Kosha means to cover. That pure consciousness it has covered. So this is conditioned consciousness. But how is this conditioned consciousness recognized in me? How is this Vijnanamaya kosha recognized? That Swamiji is elaborating now. Eteshu kosheshu madhye, amidst these 3 koshas, Vijnanamaya jnana shaktiman kartru rupah. Vijnanamaya kosha is the karta, the doer, and it is jnana shaktiman. Jnana shaktiman means it has the ability of gaining knowledge. Whatever desire comes in our mind about learning something, it could be secular and spiritual. So that knowledge which is there, it goes directly in Vijnanamaya kosha. But many a times, lot of knowledge is there, but it doesn't get percolated in our vyavahara. Why? Because second person is there. Manomaya ichha shaktiman karana rupa. Vijnanamaya directly doesn't have the ability to influence my transaction. The instrument that will be responsible, the karana, the instrument is manomaya kosha. That is where all our desires are. Ichha is in manomaya kosha. What is there in Vijnanamaya kosha? Kartrutva, the doership. And manomaya kosha, what is there? All emotions, all desires which are there. They are going to be the immediate controllers of my transactions. Where this body will go, the one who has main influence over it is immediate thing which is behind this body. Right? So what is that? Manomaya kosha. How did Manomaya kosha get its data and all other things? Through Vijnanamaya. Through Vijnanamaya, Manomaya kosha got all the thoughts and everything. So both of them have to be in sync. Manomaya and Vijnanamaya, they have to be in sync, that whatever my conviction I have gained for myself, that I should be able to implement in my transactions. Gurudev would call this as integrated personality. One whose mind and intellect is tuned together. Right? Intellect has a conviction and through lot of struggle, because it is not easy to bring conviction of the intellect to our mind. Repeatedly, mind wants to do something, this intellect has pulled it back and gradually nourished it, trained it in such a way that whatever is my conviction, that has become true for my transaction. In Upanishads we chant, right? Rutam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami. You know what is the difference between Rutam and Satyam? Rutam means truth. Satyam means truth. Now why is it said twice? Rutam vadishyami and Satyam vadishyami. So it is at the first Rutam which is there. Rutam which is there, that is from Shastra. That whatever is said in scriptures, that is true. I have to have all the values, I have to have virtues. That is Rutam. But only when I put forth effort, that Rutam will become Satyam. Meaning what? Those values will start benefiting us. So that is this tuning which would come from integration of Vijnanamaya and Manomaya. Vijnanamaya is Kartrurupa and it is Jnana Shaktiman. One meaning of Jnana Shaktiman is because reflection of consciousness takes place there. That is why Jnanam ability it has. Jnanam ability it has. If you take that definition, then you will have the problem in the second one. We say in Manomaya also reflection only takes place. In mind also, consciousness is getting reflected. So why do you say only Vijnanamaya is Jnana Shaktiman? Why not Manomaya also? But the simpler understanding is, whatever knowledge I am gathering, convictions I am gathering, that Jnana Shakti is there in Vijnanamaya. And to implement those convictions, that Karana becomes Manomaya. In Kathopanishad, Vijnanamaya kosha or Buddhi is called as Sarathi. Buddhim tu Sarathim Vidhi. Manah Pragraham evacha. What is the Manomaya kosha? The reins. Horses are the sense organs. So to control sense organs, the charioteer has to use that rein. So mind has to be there in between. That mind is going to govern my transactions. Okay. So Manomaya Ichha Shaktiman Karana Rupaha. Pranamaya Kriya Shaktiman Karya Rupaha. What is Pranamaya kosha? It has Kriya Shakti. It has the ability to act, and it is going to accomplish all Karya for us. See, here you cannot translate Karya Rupa as of the nature of effect. Right? Why? Because Manomaya is also effect only. Vijnanamaya is also effect. How can you say only Pranamaya is an effect? Karya Rupa, you can take the other meaning of Karya, that which is of the nature of actions. That which will help us accomplish all actions in life, that is this Pranamaya kosha. Yogyatvat evam etesham vibhagah varnayanti. Means based on the functions, appropriate functions, all these three have been classified, because Linga Sharira was one, right? Sukshma Sharira was one, it had 17 components. But Swamiji is saying, why did I classify into 3 parts? Or why did Upanishads classify into 3 parts? He says it is only because of their functions. Yogyatvat means appropriate functions. Based on that, they have been classified. Etat koshatrayam militam sat sukshma shariram iti uchyate. Now, what is sukshma sharira? These 3 shariras together, or 3 koshas together. Which are the 3 koshas? Vijnanamaya, Manomaya, and Pranamaya. Sukshma Sharira, one definition was 17 components. Now within that 17, we have made 3 groups. One was called as Vijnanamaya kosha, another was called as Manomaya kosha, third was called as Pranamaya kosha. Important thing to note here is, Pranamaya is part of Sukshma Sharira. It is not gross, we are talking about subtle pranas. Now, this part, when we had seen in Tattva Bodha, we saw from a slightly different perspective. What did we see? That this discussion about kosha, one of the main purpose of that is to help us understand different facets of our personality. Kosha is not a technical topic, although it looks like it, different things coming together, jnanendriya, karmendriya, elements and all. What it should translate into is, it should help me understand different facets of my personality. Now, although we didn't discuss Annamaya Kosha, we can just, reflect upon it for a little bit. Annamaya Kosha means our physical appearance. The physical sharira which is there, that is Annamaya Kosha. So that Annamaya should be healthy. That is the one layer of our personality, what is direct appearance that we see. So physiological, or you can say physical personality. Physical personality is Annamaya Kosha. Then comes Pranamaya Kosha, which is our physiological personality. Physiological personality, which is responsible for all actions. Physical body from outside doesn't tell us how much enthusiasm we have. Enthusiasm is part of pranamaya, that which gives energy for this physical body to function. So the second facet of our personality is physiological personality, which should be enthusiastic. And for this, we have sufficient guidance available. Either you take yogasana, surya namaskara, all of that will directly affect or influence this two layers, Annamaya Kosha and Pranamaya Kosha. Healthy eating habit. What is it nourishing? Pranas. Right? How to be more enthusiastic. A lot of it comes from our eating habits also. Quantity, type of food, all of that is accounted for. And everything is important for a sadhaka. It is not something that we should neglect. And in particular, under the pretext that all of this is upadhi. We are discussing adhyaropa over here. We are discussing conditioning, but that conditioning, if it is well tuned, all of that will help us in our sadhana. Next Sunday, Omran, all of you should come, because pranamaya, annamaya, both will be nourished along with manomaya, vijnanamaya, all of that. So those were two layers. Third layer is manomaya kosha. Third facet of our personality is manomaya, which is having all emotions. So what should be the main sadhana there? That it should become sadhu. Sadhu means one who can take different experiences but give back good. Goswamiji says this, Ramcharitmanas. Sadhu charita, subha charita kapasu, nirasa bisada guna maya phala jasu, je sahi dukkha parachidra durava, bandaniya jahi jaga jasa pava. So who is a sadhu? They have trained their mind in such a way that no matter what experiences they get, they are able to absorb and give back good. He gives example of cotton. Cotton gets beaten up so much, but it turns into a cloth and comes to cover that same person who made it go through all the processes. Needle was there, it got pricked in and out. That cotton became a cloth and then covered. He says sadhu is like that. Whatever shortcoming we see in anybody, in ourselves, we are able to go beyond it. That is manomaya kosha. Then comes vijnanamaya kosha, what we previously saw, that ability to analyze, ability to go deeper into a topic, any topic for that matter, not only Vedanta, but even secular topics. That ability which helps us remove ignorance, arrive at a conclusion, that is this vijnanamaya kosha. That is our, decisive personality. Manomaya kosha was evaluative personality. Anandamaya kosha is instinctive personality. Instinctive means what? All vasanas are stored there, all impressions are stored there. Anandamaya kosha is that in which all instincts or vasanas are stored. From there alone, all the thoughts emerge, from that comes our actions and so on. So this Panchakosha discussion is also helpful to evaluate ourselves from that lens. What are these 5 different layers of our personality? There was one Mahatma Ji, he would joke about this particular verse, when you say, 3 layers are given, right? Vijnanamaya, Manomaya and Pranamaya. So he would say, in Vijnanamaya there should be Brahma Vidya, clear knowledge of absolute truth. In Manomaya there should be good values. Good values should be there. Sadhu samskara should be there in Manomaya. And Pranamaya, all in our transactions, there should be Dharma. No conflict. In Vijnanamaya there should be Brahma Vidya. In mind there should be values or devotion. You can put it as Bhakti. Sadhu samskara means Bhakta samskaras. And in transactions there should be Dharma. And in olden days, they used to have an advertisement of Raymond's, Raymond the suit company. And the tagline was, Raymond the complete man. Means if you wear Raymond, you will become the complete man. He'll say, you don't become complete man by wearing Raymonds. You have to have Brahma Vidya in your Vijnanamaya, Bhakti in Manomaya, and Dharma in Vyavahar. That is what makes us complete, not any other thing. So kosha discussion has several facets, and all of it we should appreciate. Now Vedantasara, just like it had done before, takes a leap from Vyashti to Samashti. So don't get stuck with only my Vijnanamaya, my Manomaya, my Pranamaya. There is something called as Samashti Vijnanamaya, Samashti Manomaya, Samashti Pranamaya. That we will see in the 90th verse. Atra api akhila sukshma shariram eka buddhi vishayataya vanavat jalashaya vadva samashtihi aneka buddhi vishayataya vrukshavat jalavadva vyashtirapi bhavati. Atra api. Atra means in this case also, when you saw sukshma sharira. Until this point we have studied the different definitions of sukshma sharira, different ways of classifying it. He said, just like you saw in ajnanam case, just like you saw in the case of ajnanam, in the case of sukshma sharira also. Atra api akhila sukshma shariram eka buddhi vishayataya. Eka buddhi vishayataya means this buddhi makes this sukshma sharira as one vishaya. Now let us look at the example first, then it might be easier to understand this. What were the 2 examples? We had a tree and then we had a forest. Then there was space conditioned by tree and space conditioned by forest. Then there was unconditioned space. 3 things were there. One was upadhi. The tree and the forest, they were upadhis. The space conditioned by tree, space conditioned by forest, they were upahita. And then the infinite space was anupahita, unconditioned. And what did we see? That if my attention is on a particular tree, no matter how great that tree is, I will have to shift my attention away from totality. And if that tree starts saying, I am different from total, then it will make itself separate from total. It will not get the nourishment, all the things which are available to the forest, it will not get it. But what is the reality? Tree is part of forest to begin with. Due to some erroneous notion, if it wants to separate itself, then that tree will be at loss. But let us say, instead of focusing on a particular tree, I take a step back. I don't pay attention to a single tree, but just look at all of them together. Then I will say, this is a forest. Everything is the same, nothing has changed. It is not that for me to recognize that forest, something has to come together. Some trees have to come and join together, then I will say it's a forest. Nothing like that. It was forest to begin with, but my attention was on individual tree. So over here also, Swamiji is saying, if my attention is on my sukshma sharira, then I will see that there are so many sukshma shariras, there are so many tiny separate sukshma shariras. But if I'm able to take a step back and shift my attention away from this individual sukshma sharira, or just to come to recognize this point, there is only one conditioning, which is total conditioning. Then I'll be able to make that sukshma sharira as vishaya of my buddhi. Eka buddhi vishayataya is said, right? Eka buddhi vishayataya means coming to appreciate this point that there is only one mind, there is only one conditioning. What is the example? Vanavad jalashayavadva. If I pay attention to one tree, then my attention is on that tree. But if I pay attention to the forest, then all of that is samashti only. Vanavat means attention on forest. Jalashayavat, another example that was given was lake and the drop. Lake is only one. Now within that, if I focus on one drop, so that becomes vyashti. But if I just see the whole lake together, then it is samashti. So sukshma sharira also, it is said, there is only one sukshma sharira. My sadhana is to recognize that fact. Not to create that one sukshma sharira, or not to merge my sukshma sharira with that sukshma sharira. Just to recognize this fact that there is only one conditioning, which is total conditioning. Now it is said, it is eka buddhi vishayataya. Through this buddhi, I should be able to recognize that fact. Now what will be the main sadhana over here? What is my main sadhana to recognize this point that there is only one mind? Main sadhana is, do you want to type? What do you think is the main sadhana to accomplish this fact, to come to this point that there is only one mind, which is total mind? What do I have to do in myself so that I can appreciate this point? Shift my attention, okay, to see the totality and I am part of the whole. Virata Rupa Upasana, very good. Reduce Kartrutva. Negate your individual mind, know it as mithya, and align your thinking with samashti. Okay. Shifting my attention to Chaitanya. All good points. The main sadhana when it comes to merging with totality is reducing our insistence. What makes us finite is our insistence. What makes us finite is our opinions. In other place, it was said, the main sadhana is reducing our ragadvesha. Ragadvesha means the same. I get caught up with something, and there I will say, this is how it has to happen. Now that raga dvesha will make sure that I remain limited to one sukshma sharira. I remain limited to one mind, one intellect, and I cannot think about totality. But we should remember, this sadhaka also thinks. He is not careless about his vyavahara or anything. But he always has this thought in his mind that I might have one desire, I might have one sankalpa, but there is something called as samashti sankalpa. And things will go according to that. More I accept this fact, more I will be at peace. And because this samashti sankalpa belongs to Bhagavan, so he knows whatever is happening in the right direction. He alone will take care of things. Okay. So that is the main sadhana here. We don't have to do anything extraordinary. Even for upasana, when we say, right, upasana, the main thing is I should be able to let go of my individual sankalpa, my individuality. See, individuality letting go of is not from a Vedanta standpoint. You cannot directly say that individuality is mithya. Why? Because right now we are discussing conditioned consciousness. With upadhi, we are discussing it. So when it comes to upasana, there is no mithyatva involved. In upasana, we keep our conditioning, we keep samashti conditioning also, but we merge this individual into the total. With this knowledge only that Bhagavan, whatever is there is only total, I am nobody. Okay, that is this sadhana. And that mind, which has less raga dvesha, can think about bigger things. Or in other words, if you want to understand it in simple words, that mind which has less raga dvesha can think about others. Samashti means others only. Right? Even in family, you see the same thing. If one person is there always thinking about themselves, they will not be able to blend in samashti. Right? So what is the main sadhana to blend in samashti? Thinking less about ourselves, more about others. This point somewhere we had discussed about self-care. In Western terminology, this word self-care is often used. And what is our understanding of self-care? That I have to go in a corner, or I have to separate myself from everybody and then take care of myself. Give time for yourself. That is how they say. Now, that could be one way of doing it. I'm not endorsing or criticizing it. I will just put forth what is Vedanta's view of self-care. Vedanta says, if I can reduce my raga dvesha and blend with totality, in that blending, my care is already taken care of. Either it is family. If somebody can think about family and blend into that samashti, because in and through that, our well-being in that family is taken care of. That is the other side of this reflection. Okay. But let us say somebody cannot do it. Cannot do what? Shift attention to totality and say that there is only one total mind and their attention is on individual mind. So then also it's okay. Just make sure you become a devotee mind. So that is the later part. Aneka buddhi vishayataya vrukshavat jalavatva vyashtihi api bhavati. But if our attention is on individual mind, then it is okay to consider that there are different minds. Now, these are two different sadhakas. The first part of this mantra, this shloka, and the second part of this verse, two different sadhakas. Somebody who is willing to accept what Shastras are saying and is able to align their thinking in that vision. What is the first one? There is only one mind there are no many minds. Because I am focused on my mind, I feel there are many minds. Best example is dream. In dream, we see so many people, right? So many things are happening. I'm doing one thing, somebody is doing something else, third person is doing something else, and we all are talking and doing so many things. But in and through that dream, how many minds are working? So only the waker's mind is working. So like that, there is only sukshma sharira, which is one, total sukshma sharira. In that, all of us are just woven into that totality. So there is a divine plan to things which are happening. It is on this strength alone, devotee becomes carefree. One thing we should note, with the example that we saw, right, of forest and tree, it is possible that the one tree can say, I want to be separate from the forest. It is possible. I'm not saying it will be the case, but it is possible. Even the drop and the ocean example, drop can be separate from the ocean. But in case of darshtanta, darshtanta means what we want to prove. These two were drishtanta, forest and lake water, they were drishtanta. In the case of darshtanta, which is sukshma sharira, individual sukshma sharira and total sukshma sharira, that separation is not possible to begin with. Even if I want, I cannot say I want to be away from the total cosmic mind. Just like this physical body, it's easier to understand, right? There are total 5 elements, and then I have 5 elements of this physical body. Now, even if I want, I cannot separate myself from the totality. The nourishment which has to come from this physical body, even if I want, I cannot say that I will cut off all my ties that I have with the outer 5 elements and just remain separate vyashti. You see the difference between the example and this case? These 5 elements already belong to total 5 elements. So only in my buddhi I have to correct it. I don't have to go there and do anything different. These 5 elements already belong to the total 5 elements. There is only samashti 5 elements. In that I have created I and my notion in this one part of 5 elements. Pinda. Pinda means a lump. A lump of 5 elements. In that I have taken that to be myself. How this is true for physical body? The same thing is true for mind. Sukshma Sharira also, Jiva's mind cannot be separate from Ishvara's mind. Just like nourishment of this physical body comes from total 5 elements, nourishment of Jiva's mind comes from Bhagwan's mind. If Jiva's mind was separate from Ishvara's mind will become finite. Right? There is this wonderful Ishvara's mind which is total, very big. It comes and stops at my mind. My mind is separate, Bhagwan's mind is separate. Not in that way. There is only Bhagwan's mind. In that, I should dissolve myself. Hari Ichha Balavan. Whatever is your Ichha Bhagwan, that I will happily accept. Okay. Next one is a very beautiful verse. Now Samashti Upadhi was described. Now it is Samashti Upahita Chaitanya, conditioned consciousness, 91. Etat Samashti Upahitam Chaitanyam. Etat Samashti Upahitam Chaitanyam. Sutratma. Sutratma. Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha. Pranaschaiti Uchchate. Pranaschaiti Uchchate. Sarvatra Anusyutatvat. Sarvatra Anusyutatvat. Jnana Ichha Kriya Shaktimate. Jnana Ichha Kriya Shaktimate. Upahitatvacha. Upahitatvacha. Etat samashti upahitam chaitanya. Just like you had vyashti upahita chaitanya, there is this consciousness which is getting conditioned by total sukshma sharira. Samashti upahita chaitanyam sutratma. The first name that it gets is called as Sutratma. Sutratma means, sutra means a thread. Thread, if you have a mala of different flowers which are nicely arranged, that thread is something which holds all the flowers together. So Sutratma is that thread which holds all the minds together. All the minds are, individual minds are like that flowers. Sutratma is that which connects all the individual minds, and in this way becomes the total. That is the Sutratma. In some other texts, the example is given of the spokes of a wheel. Just like there is one hub, and then there are different spokes, right, which go out from that hub. In that way, all our minds, which are there on the rim of that wheel, they are connected to the center of that wheel. So that is this Sutratma. You know what is the applied form of this Sutratma word? Applied form of Sutratma word is prayer. Means whenever we pray to help somebody or to for somebody else, we wonder sometimes, does our prayer work for some other person? So there this thought should be there. We are not praying directly to some other jiva. We are praying to that totality which is connected with everybody in this creation. Gurudev has a quote that prayer is not begging, prayer is invoking. That we are not only asking some small thing, we are invoking Bhagwan's grace, that Bhagwan, may auspiciousness be there in whichever altar that we are seeking. Either it is some person, some near and dear one, or some other thing that we want. Why? Because Sutratma is the one who is connected with all the minds. If Shiva Sankalpa has to come somewhere else, then where should I pray? To that altar which is connected to that place. Shiva Sankalpa means auspicious thought. If it has to come to some other person, so there this prayer is there. But most importantly, first it should come here. We can help somebody who is drowning in water only if we know swimming. Right? So our prayer should be very strong first, that Bhagwan, may I accept this fact in my life, that there is a lot of connection in this creation, and you are the one who is taking care of it. At least this much I know, that I cannot take care. Jiva cannot take care of all these connections. They have this neural networks, right? All things connected. So many other terminologies they use. So Bhagwan is the one who is taking care of all these minds. He is the one who is connecting all these minds. So to that Bhagwan, we invoke our prayers. Then comes the word hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha, the golden egg. Literal meaning is that. Garbha means egg, hiranya means gold. But what does hiranyagarbha mean? Hiranyagarbha means that womb from which all abilities, all bhagas have emerged. Just like we see abilities in an individual, there is a storehouse of all these abilities. That storehouse is called as hiranyagarbha. We had seen the definition of Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya samagrasya dharmasya yashasya shriyah vairagyasyattha mokshasya shannam bhaga itirana. Bhagavan means one who has bhaga. One who has bhaga is called as Bhagavan. Like one who has buddhi is called as buddhiman. One who has dhana is called as dhanavan. So one who has bhaga is called as Bhagavan. Bhaga means that which has the ability to bring good fortunes in our life. Bhagya word we have heard. Bhagya, it is from that same root. So bhaga means all prosperity which can come in our life. It is that there are six main sources. One is Aishwarya. Aishwarya means resources. Wealth is there, all other things, resources. Dharma, ethical life, values. If that comes in a person, that person will become, very prosperous. Good fortunes will come to that person. Yasha means good name. Very difficult, huh? One has to work very hard to get that, and it takes no time to go away. That is the part of Yasha. That is why Goswamiji said, all these things are good, but they are good only if we get it through Bhagwan's grace. And we remember Bhagwan while these things are there, then only they will not bother us. Otherwise, everything is capable of bothering. So Yasha is the third one. Aishwarya, Dharma, Yasha, Shriya. Shriya means wealth. Aishwarya, you can take it as other resources. This person is well connected, we say. He knows exactly whom he should reach out to for which work. So that is Aishwarya. Shriya, you can take it as material wealth. Vairagya, that is the fifth, good fortune. Now, little bit of all these fortunes are seen in Jiva. But in Bhagwan, in hiranyagarbha, all these things are seen in full measure at all times. Vairagya means what? This person is fearless. He is not attached with that work. That work doesn't define who he is. Any object also, object, person, whatever these things are, that object, person doesn't define who he is. That is his vairagya. That will bring great good fortune to that person. He'll be more stronger from within. Nobody can manipulate such a person. Last is moksha. Moksha means Brahma Vidya. One who has that knowledge of supreme reality. That also will take this person, towards all good fortunes. So 6 bhagas which are there. The womb of all these 6 bhaga is hiranyagarbha. Hiranya means gold. Gold means all these bhaga. That totality which has all these bhagas, that is hiranyagarbha. So if we have a doubt or a question, when we chant Gayatri Mantra, what are we praying to? I say, this is what we are praying to. Bhargo devasya dhimahi dhiyo yona prachodayat. Tat savituhu varenyam. Tat savituhu varenyam means that hiranyagarbha, which is this totality, that alone is worthy of worship. Tat savituhu varenyam bhargo devasya dhimahi. May that brilliance be blessed upon me. Dhiyo yona prachodayat. May all these bhagas come and reside in my mind. Okay. Now we don't have to say this entire meaning in our mind with every japa. It is just a subtle reminder. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. I see some other answers to the previous question also. Shifting my attention to Chaitanya, reducing Ragadvesha, right? That was the main sadhana. Prasada Buddhi. Yes. When we discuss this divine plan thing, there could be several questions that come to our mind. How can you explain this? How can you explain that? Several topics that we take. Always we should understand or appreciate that one facet of our study is for our understanding. Another facet is when it comes to transactions with the person who is going through difficulty. So there we need not say it is all divine plan or it is because of karma or everything. There it is said we should put ourselves in their shoes and see what they might be going through. Bhagavan Krishna only says in Bhagavad Gita, according to that, we should do our vyavahara. If they are Vedanta sadhakas, they themselves will get this perspective that there is a cosmic plan and I just have to wait to see the result in due course of time. And whatever is going through, in that we have minimal control. Right? So that acceptance opens a new window. And we are not saying this out of our own intellection. Right? Shastra is saying, according to that, we should start thinking. Otherwise, there is no end. If you start analyzing each and every topic and then say, what could be the possible thing over here? I say, we don't know yet. You see, in due course of time, something new will come out from it. Okay. All right. Hari Om.